darn tiger.
I know, poor tiger. I really think it's punitive, you know, I mean, I think it's a little like, because, you know, tiger is so prominent in Kung Fu, but snake and crane, this is just, don't Google this, this is just my fantasy mind here, but, you know, snake and crane are the animals for Tai Chi, so it's like, tiger, tiger, look at big tiger.
He's a nice little fluffy tiger.
Because even in some of the treatises, they're like, well, this is why Tai Chi is superior to all other forms, you know, so there's a little snobbery in there.
Oh, say it so.
So, you know, what? It's a little rivalry between styles. Never heard of that in my
You
life.
can answer a question for me.
Sure.
What's the difference between Yang style and Chen style?
Oh, okay, we can do a little talk on that. So, they are related. Chen style was the first, and then Yang kind of sprouted out from it. And you've got old style, old frame, and new frame. So there's family tree branches, but the short version is Yang style expresses the idea of yin and yang by inhaling, you know, we're talking about that expand and contract, and it's your breath. It's in and it's out. And, but the pace stays the same, you know, your head mostly stays the same level. It's all this sort of internal understanding of yin and yang, the way it's expressed. In Chen style, yin and yang is expressed in 3 different ways. There's hard and soft, there's high and low, and then there's fast and slow. So the breathing pattern is different. It will probably also freak you out because one move in Chen will look like 8 moves in Yang. You know,
Okay, that's enough. I got it.
no, but so just to give an example, so let's see. See, I'm slow here, fast, and I'm low. Here's another hard, soft, fast, slow. It's got a
Totally different rhythm.
to it. And there's things called, like I showed in Master's Path last night with your saber, with the concept called Fa Jing, which is explosive force. So sometimes there's this wind up and then you soften again. So it's got different ways of expressing it. Obviously we teach Yang first because Chen style, you know, in Yang you're used to set it and forget it with your feet, you know, like there's Chen, no. You learn to just kind of micro swish your feet as needed. And that can be a big hiccup for when you first learn in Yang, because my feet stay here. Well, you'll destroy your knees in Chen if you don't soften up your feet. So there's just, it's a different way in which eventually you'll get comfortable with. But those are the main ways. 3 ways, yin and yang is different. And Yang. Good question.
Thank you, man.
I like it. That's good. And you know, in Chen, sometimes you'll see, if you don't know what it is, you're looking at it, you're like, I don't know if that's Tai Chi or Kung Fu, what is that? But I think if I were on the receiving end of it, it would hurt.
Yeah.
And that's lots of joint locks. The applications are pretty ugly. I mean, you know, like, you've grabbed me. I hope you have a good orthopedist because I've dislocated your leg in 3 different places. I mean, it's just, there's not like, excuse me, please. It's just like, you know, it's a little less dainty. Yeah, joint lock. Push it, yeah. So there's fun stuff. It took me a while to get used to it and to adapt to it. And then I it feels right as rain. So good question. Good, yes, not yet. All right, so Hit the Tiger. What are your understandings or expectations or questions or queries about Hit the Tiger? Other than, do we have to do it since we just did it?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if I'm out here, this fist is facing outward,
Correct.
even with the chest.
Yes.
And this one is up here.
Temple.
Is it up here or up here?
Temple.
Temple.
So, one of the things about this that I even still have to continually remind myself is, and everyone's going, what? No! You're just like in your empty-handed form. In a perfect world, Hit the Tiger, you don't land that foot. You shift and sink, right? I mean, even myself, I tend to want to go, you know, no. It's stay substantial on this leg, step, find your footing, then shift and sink. That was a game changer for me that I still struggle with.
That's mine, sorry.
Oh,
It's not my doctor.
doorbell.
It's not my doctor canceling my shot.
I hope not too. I'd show up anyway, but put it in my arm. Yeah, you don't cancel those shots.
Somebody trying to sell me something to
I'm
enlarge
not
body
on
parts I
there,
don't
they
even
call
have.
they trying to buy her house, but, you know, let me see. So, and then the other thing about those arms, it's a connected circular movement, so it connects and works with the feet. Obviously, when we teach it, we might separate them. You know, we talk, get your feet here, get your hands here. But it's, you see how they work together? And as far as the posture, it should feel, I mean, obviously the getting into it and the feet placement or positioning are going to be a little different. It's very similar to the bottom of snake creeps down in terms of that sitting back, not shearing into that knee. I mean, obviously we're not doing this to get to it, but in terms of, like, if you're here in snake creeps down, it's very similar to, you know, where you are at hit the tiger. Yeah, good. Relax your top elbow, your top shoulder.
Too high?
Just relax it. It looks like it's using muscle strength. Just kind of, yeah, there you go. And then rotate it. Yeah, good, good. And rotate this hip out a little bit.
So both out.
Yes, both out. Good. Sorry about this. The rounded positioning of the arms when performed with correct expansion and contraction of the chest can be compared to the opening and closing of a big bear hug.
Good.
Caution, the accurate execution of this movement requires a tucked-in pelvis with the body weight concentrated on the heels and outer edges of the feet. Particular care should be taken to keep the knee over the toe of the weight-bearing leg. Meaning you don't shift up. In other words, saying sit back with your center. Don't push your weight over the bent knee. I wish we hadn't worn all black because black and white photos make this difficult. But you can see from the side view, he's sitting back. A very common misunderstanding of this and with snake creeps down is you think you put all your lunge into this knee and turn over, lunging into the knee, and that's not it. You sit back and turn. So you see, like if these feet were closer, it would be more of a horse stance type seat position.
That's a bit different. Sitting
Yeah,
back.
yeah. And then let those arms help you. Here, I'm not gonna land, I'm gonna set my heel. And then I'm gonna continue rotating as I shift and sit back. It also will help, if you don't land into it, it will also help you not step too far. Yeah.
Doing it slow is a little different.
It is different. And this one, I take full ownership of the fact that I will, on autopilot, I'll land into it instead of, you know, stay here, step, then shift, and sink. So I haven't seen 90% of my classes when I'm not really paying attention. So, just like your step test, right? I'm gonna
Yeah, I've got that.
I'm gonna stay here. That's about it for me on this one. Now I can fake it, like this feels more normal to me, but that's not quite right because I've landed here. But this is my default, and even I have to go, that's actually not right, that's too wide for me. This is about right for me.
Just step.
You just step, yeah.
Clearly going.
Yes. The sinking, the farther you sink, the farther out you're able to step. Does that make sense? So like if I'm only able to sink this high, I'm basically gonna end up gonna hit the tiger like I would in the form. Then I can go a little lower. So it's, again, scalable depending on how much you sink. Then upright a little bit more with your torso if you're gonna be that high. There you go. Yes.
Just what I'm trying to figure out in my,
That's correct, just because you're not as far out, you wouldn't lean as far forward. Because remember, it's sit back more than lean forward. Yep, that looks good. Yep. Very good.
oh yeah, this side's gravy. You go towards the bad knee,
I
but.
told you everyone's got a side, everyone's got a side. This side doesn't work. Good, yes. Your back hurting?
Hey, no more than usual.
No more than usual.
All the time.
Oh, God.
Yeah, this one, when I have to be judicious about how much I practice this one because the margin of error will mess with my knee. Just because you're trying to find the right spot and that puts some strain on it. So just be mindful of that when you're practicing it. Don't overdo it. Take a break.
Okay, we'll take a break.
Taking a break. Yeah, no, this is a challenging one. I mean, and again, I wish I had my little dude, but he's gone. The four little Tai Chi guys, they walked away. We can't find him anywhere.
Here he is, you can ask him.
We have, yeah, you can't find him.
Oh.
We've all been asked. We've all on the quest for the four little Tai Chi dudes.
He was here, just went back to the move. Because he used to sit up there.
He did sit up
Yeah,
there.
he did sit up there,
He
didn't he?
hasn't been here since we've been. Has he?
I thought he was up there for a while. I think you're
Yeah,
right.
he was after the move, so I know he made it home.
Oh, he doesn't really,
He
maybe.
didn't fall out of the truck on the way down.
No.
All right, any last questions about Ride the Tiger or Hit the Tiger? Just hit the tiger.
No. You, sir.
Something to think about?
Any questions?
You have stuff to
No.
think about with the tiger? All right, let's do our life skill. And the path of self-mastery requires persistent action. Persistent action achieves the goal without quitting. Path of self-mastery requires persistent action. Persistent action achieves the goal without quitting. Path of self-mastery requires persistent action. Persistent action achieves the goal without quitting.